really like the way that you were describing how you went through the HOV there, Jody. That's a really cool idea to do that. Similarly, with the cost benefit analysis, I know that when I was early on, I looked at it as just a pros and cons list and I kind of dismissed it.
Yeah.
What really made it a powerful tool for me and what I'm finding in my meetings when it actually reaches people is after we've broke down our benefits and our costs, when we start to go through each one of those things and point out, okay, is this a long-term benefit or a short-term benefit? Is this a long-term cost or a short-term cost? And when we start to really kind of, evaluate those things, it makes it a lot more clear how much of a benefit these choices may be and how much of a cost there may be to certain choices. I find that that kind of helps to build that motivation as well, because once that was brought to my attention, I know it actually began to click a little bit. And that's why I like to bring that up to the people in my meetings as well, because I think it does mention that in the book. I'm sure it does, but I also feel like I can't be the only one that just walked right past it as a pros and cons list. He said, that's is what it is.
Well,
But
you said there though, Thomas, that it was really it made a difference for you to look at it from that perspective. What was it about looking at it from that perspective that made a difference for you, do you think?
I think what it was that I was able to look at the surface level of my choices and go, oh yeah, there's costs and benefits. But once I was shown that there is deeper levels to those choices, and recognizing the long-term effects of my choices, that was when it really started to change because I went, oh yeah, like maybe the reason I've been having these struggles for the past 4 years, is because of these long-term effects of these choices that I in the past had just looked at as like, oh yeah, well, I just made a bad choice.
And I think
Um,
our heads so wound up in the problem with instant gratification as well, right? Which we
yeah,
talked about last time, looking for that quick fix. So highlighting those long-term issues that it's causing. It's going to be
yeah,
really
definitely.
helpful to see it from that perspective, right?
Yeah, exactly. And when I've had some people in my meetings that I've seen them do exactly what I did, where they just go, "Yeah, I've seen a pros and cons list," and I said, "Okay, well, here's the difference." And we start showing the short and long term, and then I actually get, you can hear it when people are going, "Oh, that makes sense," and it's starting to kind of sink in. And I know I went through the same thing, so it's why I like to make sure people are aware of that deeper level of that tool.
I think it's all driven by for me anyway. I know obviously I'm a huge advocate when it comes to that DBT approach. The meetings that I run and stuff, but coming in through the Smart Recovery program, for me, everything seems to be driven by those values as well. When we're trying to build motivation, those areas of life that are really important to us, and looking at the impact that the behavior has on those areas of life kind of helps us to step away from that instant reward. I was having a conversation with somebody today who just reached out to me, not a client or anything, just somebody who reached out to me and said that they were really struggling with a circumstance that they were experiencing right now, and were thinking about going back into drinking. And it was just really interesting to hear that point of view about highlighting how, oh, this is going to help me right away. It's going to shut down the feelings that I've got. It's going to help me to escape just right now. And the very first question I asked him was, well, what's the long-term impact of that though if you start doing it now? Like, what's the cost of that if you start doing that now? How's that gonna screw you up? And hopefully it kind of shifted the way that he was looking at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah, we're all very quiet today. Any
Here, I could throw something back to what Thomas is saying, kind of piggyback on and go into my use of hierarchy of values in that.
yeah, yeah.
So, um, I've done a lot of different research, taken different programs, and I've seen what they call the decisional diagram, the pros and cons list done in different ways.
Yeah,
And Dr. Bill Miller, who does the motivational interviewing course I took, he
yeah,
teaches do not use something like a decisional diagram. well, somebody's in a state of ambivalence, because it could show them that there's just as many pros as there are cons.
Absolutely.
But the thing that's different about the decisional diagram than the cost benefit analysis is exactly what you guys are talking about, which is that LTST, that long term, short term, which really digs into somebody who's sitting there going, well, look, man, there's some pros and cons. And then you ask them that, well, what are the short? Because obviously, if we look at the CBA, it asks that question, what is this thing doing for me?
Yeah.
Right. And if we want to know the answer to that, so we can at least figure out, because when people say that sentence, there's nothing good about this shit, I don't know why I do it.
Nah, that's bullshit, man.
Well, I know it is, but we hear that. Come on, we all hear it, right? We hear it from others. We probably said it ourselves at times. I don't know why I'm doing this. There's no reason to do this shit. It's like, well, there is, right? It's just
the first thing you've got to acknowledge, though, is that you're getting something out of it, right?
I would think, if we're going to be able to work from there, right?
Yeah.
But so the cost benefit analysis gives us the ability to at least look at that, and then also recognize, well, and then what? That's the other question I think the cost benefit throws into it. It's like, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. Okay, and then what? Right. And if we can play that tape, as we say in Smart, play that tape till the end, instead of just that brief scene of euphoria, it's like, I'm going to have a few drinks. Okay, and then what? I don't know. I'm going to have a few more. Okay, and then what? Right. It's like, let's keep going. And then what? Right. It's like, if you don't like where this is going, just stop the tape and play one that coincides with, and the whole validating the part of me that's feeling something. I can appreciate there's a part of me that wants to have a drink, or, distract in an ineffective way. I will validate why it wants to do that. What I'm not going to do is validate what it's about to do.